Om Shanti. Prayers of Bhagavan. So grace for making me part of this satsang. So I'm thankful to Brother Murali, who is the devotional coordinator, who will be a speaker on this session, and that every such opportunity that I get to in the company of communities, be it meeting or be it a physical real meeting, all a great source of joy for me. So I'm really happy that I'm as a satsang, and I am also speak on Swami as I saw him, and it happened that when Brother asked me to speak and he mentioned the date as 5th February, that's a Wednesday, and I didn't think much about it. But today, as many of you would know, is a very holy day, is known as Bhishma Ekadasi, a very holy day dedicated to the Mahabharata, grand of Mahabharata, grandeur of the Pandavas and Kauravas, as he is known. And today's is a day that is dedicated to him. And so, what better day to gather and share and talk about than a holy day like this? And this was indeed a special thing to all of us that we are able to do this today. A quick info Bhishma, just to recall, I was thinking that this King Bhishma, the grandfather of Pandavas and Kauravas, was one of the main characters of Mahabharata, main personalities of Mahabharata, and we all know that he is known as one of the most virtuous of the kings of his times, and he took a vow of for a lifetime, didn't take kingdom for himself. So in that sense, he was the personification of sacrifice, of Tyaga, as than the Sanskrit word. So the personification of Tyaga, and all his life was dedicated for others, well said. And that he was also, being all this, he also was committed to fighting on behalf of the Kauravas, the bad ones in this, as the Mahabharata story goes, and he fights on the side of the Kauravas, and the opposite side are the Pandavas, and most importantly, Lord Krishna along with the Pandavas. So he is actually fighting against God. And I won't go into the details of Mahabharata story, as you all know themselves, but I just was thinking that line of what I was going to share from my perspective. You see here is that is great devotee of Krishna. Bhishma was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and it's so much so that after Mahabharata war was over, one day Raja, the eldest of the Pandavas, went to visit Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna was meditating. And then Lord Krishna opens his eyes. Dharmaraja asks him, "Oh Lord, you are the Lord of the universe, and what is it that you are meditating on?" And Lord Krishna says, "I am actually thinking about Bhishma, who is lying on the bed of arrows and is waiting for an anxious time to leave body. And let's go and meet him." And it's Dharmaraja and other Pandavas, everybody, and they go to him. You know the story. And there King Bhishma gives of one of the famous Vishnu Sahasranamas, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, to all gathered, besides any other insights on how a king should behave and so on. So that is the level of devotion of Bhishma that Krishna was thinking about him. He says that is because Bhishma is constantly meditating on me. I am thinking about him. So I thought, sharing something about Lord, about Bhishma's life on such an auspicious day is appropriate. But I'm also going to talk about one other incident that happened in Mahabharata while the war was on. And it so happens that on one of the days, Bhishma and Arjuna are fighting each other. They're face to face fighting each other. And obviously, Lord Krishna is the charioteer. So he was there, guiding the chariot of Arjuna. And Bhishma is such a person that Arjuna was no match for Bhishma's strength. So Krishna has taken a vow that he's not going to hold him during the war. And he himself is not going to fight. He is only going to be a charioteer for Arjuna. So, but the situation is that under Bhishma's ferocious, Arjuna was really getting wounded and he was in a very bad situation. See, Lord Krishna chariot takes his Sudarshan disc and sets out to actually kill Bhishma. That's the scene is supposed to happen at Mahabharata war. And then seeing Lord Krishna jump down from the chariot coming to kill him, Bhishma drops all his weapons and stands with folded hands and says, "What better way to die if I have to die than in your hands?" So it was Lord Krishna who killed him in order to protect Arjuna. So, and of course he doesn't, because Arjuna also pleads with Lord Krishna that he wouldn't want to break his vow. So, but the point here is that, so this is an act of avatar here, Lord Krishna, who went back and ready to kill the other person in order to save Arjuna. So if you just at this situation at a very super level, one would think, oh, that means if Lord Krishna is trying to kill the other person, that person is bad, and this person is good, and Lord Krishna is trying to save Arjuna. I draw such inferences, which are of course not accurate, because we know that Bhishma is also equally devoted to Lord Krishna. So really is going here is what I was thinking. That you see, now is trying to save one devotee and is ready to kill another devotee. So going on here, it does imply that either one is good, one bad. So what I occurred that so he anyway, and he did not kill Bhishma, but he had a grand plan of what he wanted to achieve in his avataric mission, and both Arjuna and Bhishma were playing a in that mission, and both devotees they were doing their duty, and Lord Krishna was just directing the whole show. So the background I just thought I will share, because what I'm going to say from my side is that when we see activity in action, how affect those actions to ourselves, it may be of very little sequence, because we have no idea of what is the grand plan of this divine hour has. It is our good fortune if we get a chance to be part of this mission, however small, however little. If we do our part, then that's a privilege and a blessing that sanctifies our life. Now, so I was just going to share that from my perspective, that is as I saw him. The Swami saw him does not tell anything really about Swami, who Swami is, because who Swami is only he knows, and what he achieved on this earth, the full impact of his avataric life will probably will come to be talked about by thousands and thousands of people in the centuries to come. So all these sharings that we do, we get a glimpse of how a person with his or her limitations perceive who Sathya Sai Baba is. So, from perspective, I want to share. It's more like a question because and I don't mind making one because I'm speaking to my family members here. So, to say how when I went and joined Puttaparthi in 1980, 15-year-old boy in my 11th grade, how do I understand what was going on, what was my perspective, and how many things that most of it I didn't understand anything. And much later, when certain understanding developed, and which due to some grace, so I will share journey is what I thought when I say here is what I saw him, and some of it can be right. And that was quoting that Bhishma's episode where Krishna went on to attack Bhishma. So that on to attack Bhishma doesn't make Bhishma bad or Arjuna good or any vice versa. That was so here the instant command of my father who wanted me in Swami's college as 11th grader, 1980 went and joined in a Indian traditional family with a lot of religious things going on around. I had an idea of here we had a picture at home. So, and the prayer and connection with God seems to be just a few minutes in the morning and maybe a few minutes in the evening. If there are some special festivals, then we get to have fun. That's why I had paid for God. When I go to at all, that whom I could not see or talk to had less impact on me than my own father, whom I could see and who would see what I am doing too. So I'm more scared and concerned for what my dad would think. I probably give me a thrashing if I did something wrong. Then I was worried about God. I wasn't worried about God because no matter what I do, what I say, how I behave, God was not appearing in my dreams to chide me. So I'm okay with that. But I was concerned about my father. That's how I was. And then I go to Puttaparthi, and of course we are told and we accept implicitly that here is Bhagavan, God, and then you know how those days not we actually stayed in the the point, and then I moved to old hostel in the mandir, right across from the mandir. So join there, and we hear all these stories about the miraculous things that Swami has done to his devotees, because we charge the atmosphere of the Prashanti Ashram, and you hear these stories about how Swami is helping his devotees day out. So keep hearing all these stories. But what first thing that if I go back and recollect my improvement, the first thing I had, yes, he is God, etc. is all fine. But you see, this is what we used to hear day in and day out. That, oh, if you are leaving from the hostel, walking to the mandir for darshan, we all lines, don't look there, don't walk silently to the mandir. This used to be daily instruction. Every walk from the hostel to the mandir, which is just a few yards away. But we are supposed to talk to anybody. We are not supposed to look here. We used to get that kind of instruction. And most times these instructions would be followed by this statement that, oh, Swami doesn't like if you do this. Swami won't be happy if you behave like this and things like that. So this in this young the question I got was, oh, this Swami is really a very strict area. Because like if I talk to somebody, he doesn't like if I look up here and there. And such a strict discipline of being not the thoughts were there. Okay, so Swami must be really, really a strict discipline, and we have to do these things because if he will be happy and he doesn't like and things like that. So impression was that one very strict disciplinarian. And that matters to him is that you have to follow all these rules, otherwise he will be unhappy. That's the kind of impression. Now I wasn't following, I followed. And I did not have the courage or the to revolt. Not, even I wouldn't, but these thoughts would be there. What is the talk? Wrong if I see here and there and things like that. This is just an example. And there were many, and those who Prashant Nilayam understand that there are a lot of rules and regulations as to what you can do, and things like that. Something like so we were not to the ashram and eat in the and things like that. So anybody who is going from an outside world to such a system, if I would have probably gone with my parents here and there, and I would have eaten in a hotel, and I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But here, Prashant Nilayam, and immediately somebody is telling me that Swami doesn't like if you eat hotel outside. So I have to make sense of this. Why is this? What that somebody who is God of the universe? This matter. It took me years of listening to Bhagavan's discourse, reading Sathya Sai literature, and mentoring from the leaders of the university to understand really what Swami was doing in this discipline and the rules and things like that to all of us as students was that he was entering us in mind from influences that would distract us from our studies, and secondly from being spiritual people. So we probably didn't have much of spiritual things, practices apart at that time. But then we are in an ashram, the presence of divinity. So we had a great opportunity to follow the life. So what he was doing, as I look back now, I understand is that he was sheltering us with small saplings from being taken away by all these wild animals that would be there around. So it was a fence that he was putting around the saplings and protect us through all this. So now, sure, but then I have this question. So that the way I saw is as was a strict disciplinarian. Why is he insisting on all these disciplines? What is wrong if I were to go and eat in a hotel outside? It did not become clear to me until much later. I heard numerous times, not once, numerous times Swami speak about the types of food, the sattvic food, the rajasic food, and the thai food, how the emotions of the cook who cooks the food will also make get into the nature of the food, and how when we food, a part of that energy that is out of it will become mind, and how that will have effect on the mind. So Swami was taking so much care where we eat, how we eat, all these little things. Whether we couldn't watch movies, I was a big movie buff until then. These things. Then I understood that every single discipline that was actually protect us from distracted, from going astray, will save and keep on God. So that understand about much later. Right at the beginning, the first impression, oh, Swami is very strict. Oh, I do this, Swami doesn't like. So that was my first impression. Then and more, we used to go and sit in the veranda. We see me come out after the interviews. He used to spend long hours talking to us in the veranda. And every time Swami is there in the veranda, there are continuous, there is laughter, because I'm joking and having fun. So you got to see the lighter side of Swami. And so it's not always about discipline. It's so not only about being strict and that thing. Swami is fun to be with. So to enjoy and look forward so much to be with Swami. The he showered so much love on each and every. He never beginning in the first few years directly to give me some special attention or anything, but seek it either. It didn't matter whether speaking to me or to my brother sitting next to me. Just have his presence because it was such a great thing to be in his presence. So to all these stories of Swami cured, list stories from what we hear as to what is happening in the mandir. We go back to hostel, somebody will say, "Oh, Swami did this to some devotee, and then this got cured of this disease," something like that. So miraculous things that Swami that used to happen. We hear them almost on a daily basis. Oh, this thing to somebody created this diary. He did that. He did that. So we continually hear about these miraculous things that you accept them as, of course, very natural things. What deal is Swami has created a ring or created a watch or something. Okay, yesterday he did it before that, and he is doing it today. So that it became so natural to accept that kind of miraculous things. And in our those days, I'm talking about the decades when a lot of the Western devotees also started writing books, and prior to it was just one Howard Buffett's book and one Samuel Sandwell's book, and very few. And he was such a voracious reader that any book that comes in print within a week I used to read. And when I read this Sai literature, I'm listening continuously every time Swami gives this, I'm listening, listening. So with all things, okay, Swami is disciplined. I saw. Then Swami is really a very fun person to be with. He's very loving, very kind. Master who who is performing all these miraculous activities across the world to devotees. And as to I'm speaking as if to teach me more as to what else is he. It's so that within a year of joining Prashanthi Nilayam College, mother was diagnosed with in those, to me it means anything because I know that it's some disease. I had no understanding of what it is. Anything I understood from the conversation at home was that somebody gets cancer means they die. So that's I understood at that time. With that much of awareness about the disease. Yes. So then when I hear this, I see my parents very upset by the news, but because I understood the gravity of the situation, of that, no problem. We are really, I'm already in Butavakti. I hear the stories of how many people Swami of disease and how Swami is capable of saving anybody in whatever distress, whatever trouble they are. So I pray very hard and hope, not hope, I'm sure that Swami will cure. So nothing to worry. So I intensify all my all prayers, because I do is that, okay, I sit in a bhajan, I'm all the time saying, Swami, please save my mother, please save my mother. Or I used to write letters to Swami. And this is the thing that I learned in those days. So God means God should know everything, God awareness, omniscient. And so I saw that some of the students and the devotees are writing letters to him. To me, it occurred that why I have to write a letter to Swami? Knows everything already, so why I have to write? Of course, I do know why we have to write. It is not he needs to know. It is because in writing, it becomes a yearning, a prayer from our side that reach out to him. So it's an act of devotion, and it's an act of pain that I, instead of speaking words, I write and I give. And so, what are you all know full understanding of why we need to write to him. But I'm sharing that. that. So now we used to hear, and then we have to write. So there is a physical Swami, or physically we have to tell Swami. Swami, the omnipresent Sai will know everything, but the physical Sai needs to know. This kind of and all kinds of things. So I used to think, oh, there is one physical Swami who needs to told what I have or what I want, and there is omniscient Swami who knows everything. So this small young fellow, and what being I'm thinking about all these things. So I think, oh, maybe then I have to tell Swami too. I have to write to Swami too. So it so happened that my mother was advised to have a surgery. I didn't want to have it. And because I kept telling, oh, come and pray to Swami, and Swami will cure you, Swami will take care of it. So she came to Prashant one day. I think it was Gurima Day of 81 or 82. And those days it was not such a big celebration. So it happened that after the darshan is over, then devotee left and she got a chance to sit on the row number one. And there are only 200, 300 devotees at that time anyway. So my mother and I say, I can see my mother, and she's thinking that, oh, I'm right now right here. And when Swami, he is going to come me, I am going to give this letter, and he will accept, and I don't have surgery. That's hope she's having. She told me later. And I was now Swami. See, I've been praying. I'm sure Ancient Sai heard my prayers, and I also made sure that the physical Sai will also know. So I wrote all these letters and all that, and with so emotion that I have in my heart. So now God has responded to my prayers. A great devotee, I must have thought. So then Swami from darshan, he passes by my mother, but he does not even look at her as much, and he doesn't even take the letter. So all the things that I have been building up, thinking that I have so much devotion, and Swami is God, so Swami will respond to his devotees. He will say his devotees. All these things come crushing down. And of course, my mother was disappointed, and she went and she had surgery. Then, but me thinking that, okay, this is, I keep Swami is saving somebody's cancer, Swami is making somebody walk, and is giving eyesight to somebody. Why can't he do that to my own mother when I'm here sitting there in his presence and paying everything? Why not doing? So there are some theories about it, and say, oh no, even though this Swami is things, but Swami will allow the karma that we have to go through, whatever we need to go through. All philosophical theories. Everybody knows these things. But the person who is going through to all these things and make sense of it. See, I'm trying to make him, I'm thinking, okay, Swami is my resource, recourse for, if I have a trouble, I can go to him and pray and he will take care of it, is what I have been getting from all these messages that I'm hearing. And when I go to him with a trouble, now he doesn't take care of, he doesn't respond to what I'm asking him. I'm being given all these philosophical theories. So then, this thought going on in my mind. So this goes on. She went through whatever she had to go through. But throughout the period, I was continuously, okay, she had surgery, but she was going through chemotherapy, kinds of things. I keep thinking, please save and all that stuff. But with dual darshans and the courses and all this philosophy, I keep reading. I used to be a voracious reader, so I used to read all types of literature, all kinds of philosophical books. So the years it occurred to me, I tried to understand that why doesn't God interfere in every single individual's life and change things dramatically and things like that. I come to it, okay, fine, this is what's on. So I will accept it. And then I got from going back again. So see all these different types of students have opportunity used to do activities and get close to Swami. So Swami would talk to them. Swami have some, some idea. He'll recognize physically that, oh, this fellow's name is this. And well, I was like one of the 200 who are sitting there, and I think no permission. And so I have to do something about it. So now that there was an avenue that opened up, and was this group of our own classmates and others received Swami when Swami came to the and 1980. When Swami came, these students were there up at the front. Somebody was holding a Purna Kumbham, and they were chanting Veda. I these two fellows, I recognized my friends. So I said, why these fellows are there in the front? So then told, oh, they are chanting Veda. I said, I think I also will do the same thing, so that I can also just somehow get closer to Swami. So that my journey with learning Vedam began. And finally, I had Guru Dr. Sathya Sai, whom I'm really grateful having taught me for several years. And that became I became part of the Vedam group. And a lot of interaction in terms, seeing Swami, getting Pada Namaskar every time we chant Vedam. So this used to happen. But that also led me to whatever discourses that Swami was giving, those Dasara discourses, when Swami was talking a lot about Sanatana Dharma, about Veda knowledge, about yoga. I used to simply get excited about this whole thing. So then it occurred to me that, oh, Swami as an avatar has a mission of revive Sanatana Dharma, and he is here for Veda Samrakshana, like protecting the Vedic knowledge, all these things. So what is Swami? If you ask, you see how he's getting different exposures as to what Swami is. As who is a disciplinarian, somebody who can be very loving and kind, to somebody who saves all his devotees from their trials and tribulations, to somebody who also does not save every person, but will wait for their karmic things to be play out, but remain in a sense detached to all these sufferings that a devotee is going on. So all this, and then this Vedic aspect of Swami's commitment to Veda revival and things. So getting all these different insights into what Swami, he is an infinite dimensional entity, and like I'm just going to see one ray of who he is here, one ray of who he is here, and with all limitations of my own understanding. I was a young guy, and I only know little, even know only little. But with all limitations, I was getting all these insights. So then it so happened that just to come other suffering. Then I thought at that time, I'm making a confession because these are all some of my innermost thoughts. Nobody knew then. I cannot tell my friends all this. Today, because I look back at all these that I've been through, and I see how Swami has guarded me through all these. He took off me. And anyway, so what happened, I said, Swami probably is only going to care and cure people, or protect those kind of devotees who are VIP, or who are maybe. Rich was never there in my mind. Actually, rich we used to see day in and day out. All kinds of very poor people used to get interviews, so that was not so much. But I thought maybe only if you're a VIP, you get a chance to tell Swami directly and you get things. Then I saw a few later that Professor himself, due to old age, was in his last stage of life. So every day, he comes in his wheelchair. Some of us who are on this call will recall that he is there in the front of the veranda in his wheelchair. So he was already terminally ill. I don't remember what he was sick with, but it was that he was terminally ill and great amount of physical suffering. So, so this every single day, Swami will come out He'll not so much as even look at Professor Kasturi some days. Some days he may just go joke with him, how are you, or something like that. He'll take notice and then he'll come outside, talk to the students, talk about all kinds of seemingly very small things like what is the menu in the hostel and things like that. What was wrong that he did not he's not curing Professor Kasturi also. Professor Kasturi is VIP. He cured him at least, but it didn't happen. But I also saw how, and those were the days when Swami was directing a called Bhajagovindam with some of us. I was already a PhD student, so I was part of that actor team. And so I come for rehearsals to the university. So you'll be there for hours together in Swami's presence, rehearsing the scenes and things. So on one occasion, Swami was sitting in the auditorium watching. So all of a sudden, Swami got up and Swami said, enough, I need to go, And Swami was in great rush to leave. So asking him to namaskar, he said, no, I have to go, And he literally ran auditorium. And then later on that, Swami directly from the auditorium went to the hospital that was there, where Professor Kasturi was there, and saw to him directly. And some vibhuti or something, blessed him profusely, and that same evening, and went away. And that same evening, Professor Kasturi passed. Now, when I saw this, then I saw, just because Swami wasn't physically, to our observation, he wasn't paying attention and he wasn't curing him, did not mean that Swami didn't take Professor Kasturi. So we had questions. Just were there sitting in Swami's presence doesn't mean that we suspend all our rational thinking. We were trying to make sense of what is being said, to what is happening, and how we can generate an understanding out of all this. So when we connect these things and then see, okay, not all that we see that is going on. One is much more and beyond any such human comprehension. So, then back to my mother's thing. A few years by, she went through all that treatment and that. I had a brother who was high school at that time, and my mother wanted he also should be part of Swami's College. And I did the years undergraduate program. And that he wasn't, he was studying in the local language, Telugu medium school, and some rules and regulations have come up, and all those students who have studied up to 10th grade English medium instruction, those students are eligible even to join his higher secondary school from 11th to 11th grade. So again, my mother was praying, and then he told me, you need to pray to Swami and ask Swami to. And the only way is that Swami happens. If he says, it will happen. And so choice but to pray. I went to then principal. I would like my brother to apply. Can you give me an application form? They refused to give me an application form for brother because he doesn't start the requirement. So another thing happens. I start writing letter after letter to Swami. Swami, my brother is there. We have only one brother. We like him also to receive all his blessings. So some days he will take, some days he won't take. But then slowly Swami actually, because I am there ready. The moment he comes near, I would jump up and give a letter. So he's asking me what is my name, where am I, and all that. So slowly that interaction started. Now, looking back all the years now, since 30 years now, what Swami was doing. No idea what Swami was doing. come and talk to me and take the letter from me, I would think, and this would think in those days, oh, I must be a really great devotee. Otherwise, he has responded to my pray and pray and pray, and then he will come and take the letter. So I must be, then that is me accepted my devotion. And that, so, but all done, thing happened on the ground because I'm asking for my brother to be given admission. What happened? Taking my letter is talking to me. I'm happy. And then if I go to tribe Vrindavan, request because Swami had gone to Vrindavan. And entrance for this 11th grade admission is coming up, and he has applied, my brother. So I go down and I get a chance to sit and give the Swami that the letter that was written by my mother to Swami. So Swami letter and start letter in front of me. My mother's letter was written there. So Swami letter, and she obviously wrote about joining Swami college. So Swami looked at this, what can I do? The rules are rules, and permit him to be admitted. There is nothing I can do. He's telling me. And of course, not just one-on-one. All the students are there. Some VIP devotees are there. In the tribe Vrindavan, inside the mandir. Because some analogies made it that even this officer will have to follow the rules. He cannot violate because he is a police officer and things like that. So he was implying that he can't help. If my brother doesn't qualify, he doesn't qualify. So and he says that, and he turns to his side, and the devotee is sitting aside and says, and to one particular devotee, I don't know who it was, but he says to her and says, is it not? He says, saying that because I am God doesn't mean that I'll do whatever I like. I still have to follow the rules. Is what he was. He wanted some kind of an affirmation from this lady devotee who was sitting. So, to my great, that lady devotee replied to Swami saying, Swami, आप तो भगवान है, आप कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. Therefore, you are God, so you can do whatever you want. So, then just brushed this aside and happened to cut short. Then, okay, go back to Puttaparthi and tell the principal I told you, education, etc. So then that several things happened, but that's not the point. The point that eventually mother did get admitted into college. He also studied after his master's program. So that okay, Swami was a strict disciplinarian. He was also for sticklers for rules, etc. But there are also certain situations when he chose to go above and no rules will bind him at that point. Right? So, in those of you who are with Lalita Sahasranamam will know there is one name called Sarvanullangya Sasana. That means all rules and regulations, nothing binds the divine. So there are these kind of glimpses I was getting of different ways of operating. In some cases, he would make exception. In some cases, he wouldn't make exception. In some cases, he would behave. He is bound by those rules and regulations. So, but like whether Lord Krishna jumped and went to kill Bhishma, or whether he was Arjuna, he had his grand plan, of which all the part of the actors, but the whole thing directed by him. That is the reason why I talked about that at the beginning. So, then that my mother, there was a remission. She was cured after surgery and all that. There was a remission, and then again my mother got sick and during master's studies. So at that time again I was by Swami. At that time Swami also was talking to me on a regular basis. I was taking my letters, reading, and some in front of me, and that. I see that I may not do whatever I ask him to do. I was asking him. So I was asking him to cure my mother. Do that. I was asking him, please to your college, give him admission. He did that. But he did that or he didn't do the other, it was because of me. It was he had a plan, he has a reason, and he is doing what he wants to do. So thinking the day he took the letter, that talked to me, I am thinking, oh, Swami is very happy with me. Oh, I must have done some good and things like that. The days that he doesn't take those letters or he ignores me or he gets angry at me for whatever reason, then I am thinking, oh, Swami is angry, Swami this, Swami that. You see, I am thinking Swami this, Swami that, Swami is happy, Swami is unhappy, Swami is angry, Swami is not angry. All things are happening in me. He is Swami always to say, reflection of the inner being. So if I was happy, I imposed it on him. If I was angry, I imposed it on him. So I was looking at him through my prism, not he is. Of the capacity to see him for what I can only try to see and understand him through the window of life experiences that I have with him. And all the limitations of my mind imposed on me, I understand and say, this is the Swami that I understand. But how limited can that be? And that it is important for all of us to share our perspectives because we get all these different perspectives of what he was to all these millions and millions of. It's so that my mother was almost on the last task for her to be brought for you to put up Parthi. So we interview, and in that interview, Swami told her that, okay, look, I added your second son also to my college only because of your prayers. Swami told her, and Swami told, look, don't worry, I take care of your children. There is my responsibility. I get to see this extremely compassionate, extremely loving aspect of Swami is when he was to my mother. That's compassionate, interaction I have seen with Swami and my mother. We told her, he did cure her. He was asking for it. I was asking, everybody was praying for it, but he did not do that. But whatever thing you, she was worried about us, her children. She said, I will care for them, take care of them. And this is what she gave. And today, he continues to keep his word. So, my mother told me after the interview, whatever worry I had in my heart is solved just by that one sentence that I will take. And I can peacefully now. That's what she told me. And once she did leave her body. But then this portion that I didn't do what I wanted, but he gave her that of mind which no money, no medical facility, not would have given her. By one word, he spoke and said, I will take care of your children. I know alone that is what is bothering. And he replied. So I know how his words can make a huge difference in human life. And in fact, we can go on asked to speak, sharing this, but everyone who is present in this call will have such stories and much more fantastic stories. No doubt. So the one Sathya Sai Baba who did things under his plan. He was coming ahead. He knew, so he said that as much. I am not moved by all this fervent that you make that take to me because I know the past and I also know the future. So mean that I will do nothing. Some appropriate is what he will do. Whether understand or not depends on our capacity, and we understand will depend on his but all. I got to see that he did such phenomenal thing for my mother that no power on earth could do. Very utterances that he makes in his discuss in public, those things that he says in private. He was always consistent with what he was saying. He said discourse. Not one person, if he gives an interview and he tells he will take care, he is taking care of every one of us. నీవని ఒక పైన ఏవని ఎలుదు వాని. So you say that one and yours. Treat, I would like to be considered as part of property. Then you say, Swami, means I care. I may have had a very, all kinds of past. Doesn't we say we are his? Then he will start his, because I have chosen him, he will chase up the progress. And it may be fast. In some cases it's evident, in some cases not. Doesn't matter. He said he will take care, and he has. So in this grace, this is a great action of things that we experienced in our own life. Like I said, this one won't be enough for me to tell you all those other things that we do make him for who he is in our little ways. But to share a few thoughts, I thought different perspectives would be for me to relive those memories. Like I said, it is always a blessing for me when I talk about it. I can relive those memories. So it's a blessing. So I thought I will share some of these perspectives. So who knows what he is? He himself said, "Nobody, don't you try to understand me. Come and just experience me." Right? So these years that I had a chance to live with till I was a student, these are some of the experiences I had, and today they continue to keep me, keep me to him, and I'm indebted and grateful to Bhagwan for everything that I have in my life. It ain't, oh, this is the direct result of Swami's grace. It is not as evident, not because he is not showing, but because I am not seeing it as clear. That's just had a conviction that yes, no matter what is going on in my life, it is due to a divine plan. If I want to that, and of course, temporarily I will feel happy, unhappy, sad, elated. All these things will be there. But at the back of it all, I pray to him that let me have that firm conviction that you are there always, and for me, each one of us, and no matter what is happening in my life, whether it is good or bad, it is due to your will. So you can have that conviction, hold on to you, Bhagwan. That is all I ask you for. Is what I pray. I wanted to share some of these thoughts. I will stop here. Again, I thank Murali for me this opportunity, and it's a joy for me to think of this event in the divine presence. Thank you, and happy if you have any questions, I have to answer.
Thank you. I mean, like your entire speech experience sharing is something like questions and answers, because you were posing your doubt. I had this doubt and how Swami answered it. It was so nice to hear those things. But I believe we have 10 minutes. Probably we can stretch, and there are audience who are willing to ask some questions and get that clarification. Those who are interested in asking questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. Those who are asking questions, please mute yourself so that we don't have the echo or disturbances. A question. Okay, if someone asks a question, I just ask you this question. We believe that Swami is God and He is take care of us. He has given to us that so long you think of me, I'll take care of you. Once me that I'm your savior, I'll protect you. But at times, we out of patience. We feel the existing time is so huge that our devotion for Swami is lesser. So we try to pray him. We pray him 3 times and 10 times also, but still the prayer is not answered the way how we want it to be answered. In case, what should we do? We have to give the problem to Swami and keep quiet, or we have to pray harder.
That's the same experience we all have in our life. That sometimes the prayers are answered in the sense the problem that we are facing is resolved in a manner that we would like it to be resolved. That's the thing. And when that is not resolved in accordance with our wish, we think is good in our limited perspective, then we think the prayer is not being answered. So, when it is no such thing as prayers not answered in a very philosophical sense. There is this and his father. They were without at one time. And the father says, "Oh, I've been praying all these years and for a child, and God is not gracious enough to bless me with one." And Charles replies to his father that no jada manushye devata jadima manushye means that the ones are irresponsive ones are the humans, but the div is always responding. So in that sense, therefore, when we are praying sincerely, like you said, and we are praying for a certain happen in a particular way, even it is responding or not, it is also responding. That is not insensitive. That is pure Chaitanya. So that respond, but necessarily in the manner that we want it to respond. So you can. But I'm not saying that I have a prescription for as an answer to your question, but we can continuously remind ourselves that we be firm in our conviction that divine will prevail. And just also very quickly, Swami used to talk about this Shreyas and Prayas, that which is good for us and that which we like to have. So, is that which we like. Shreyas is what is good for us. So, we most of the times pray for things that are pleasing to us, and what He will answer to by giving ones that are of good. If I have that conviction, then I guess it becomes easier to accept the time is for things to happen. Ultimately, we have to pray. That is also part of His grace that we can have that patience.
Thank you. Thank you. In the audience. In the answer of any more questions, may I request Shambai to do the.
Hello, Brother Murli. I'm Gnana Bhaskar, sir. This is a wonderful, wonderful session. Please accept our grateful thanks because all the were questions. You might be wondering why there were no questions much. Because you answered many of our questions in your talk itself. These questions about why these things don't happen for me, I've been doing this, and very beautifully you pointed out that, some pray very hard and then some things happen and we think it's a matter of, prayer. And you said it was like the reflection of the inner being, that we project all these on the divine. And sometimes when we are not in, our mind is scattered and then we think it's due to us that the divine is not responding. But you clearly showed to talk how we cannot put some sort of formula or some sort of a particular, analysis. And you gave us beautiful examples all through from the time you joined, and you started very, very, very beautifully with the story of today being Bhishma Ekadasi, of how Lord Krishna was willing to break vow in order to protect his devotee. And then you raised a very beautiful question, which actually I had not pondered at that time, which was like, on one hand, he is protecting one devotee, and on the other hand, he is getting ready to kill another devotee. So is one good and the other bad? And then you said, in a higher synthesis, that both of them are not, they are just playing their roles in this drama, and he has the bigger picture and he knows the bigger plan. And that is very true, sir. Many times we do not know much about Swami has the bigger plan. We just see one very, very thin sliver in that moment of time, and then we make our own inferences from that. And like you pointed out, like first you thought that Swami was a very strict disciplinarian. You cannot look here, you cannot talk here, you cannot go eat outside, etc. And then later on you came to understand that was only basically so that the sapling can grow straight and not be eaten away by any passing animals. And then you saw that on the veranda he is fun-loving, and then he's compassionate, and then in some cases he saves devotees, and sometimes he allows them to go through their karma, as unfortunately, or apparently, not unfortunately, but as it seemed at that time in your own mother's case. But then so beautifully in the end he answers her prayers, and he says that it is only because of your prayer that I gave your second son a seat. I will take care of them. And that way he is the core of her concerns. Not her concern, but the core of her concerns. And that was very, very important that you pointed out. And then how he has come to revive Sanatana Dharma and Vedic knowledge and so on. And, how sometimes he appears to be bound by rules, sometimes he's not. So in this way, you actually took us to a real mosaic of so many things that Swami can do. And I also like the way in which you shared the story of Professor Kasturi. And purposes, one imagine that such a person who has written the biography of Swami, who was instrumental for the Samsarthi, and who has transcribed Swami's discourses and been around with him, traveled with him, would get a lot of attention in his last days when, things are getting rough at a physical level. But apparently sometimes Swami doesn't talk to him, sometimes he talks to him and all that. But later on, when he's watching your play practice in the, I think it's a play practice, Bhajamandam play and play in the university, suddenly he says, I need to go, and he's in a real rush. That no matter what seems to be focused on, which not at what times.
Yes.
When whom what need, whether they ask or they don't ask, he decided and he wills it and it happens, and he can be in the midst of any other engagement, but he never loses sight of what he needs to do. So that is great hope and grace.
That's nice.
That is with us, and not, as you put it very beautifully, we look through one's own prism. Really, he is himself limitations, and he knows when to give us what. If only we can, in our minds and hearts, and like you said, if we can just hold tight with that, then our life will be very, very peaceful. I'm not saying it's necessarily not have its ups and downs, but really it doesn't matter at some point when you get into that frequency, when you understand that this is also orchestrated by the divine, and when we can just ask thanking us in that direction. And you really, you spoke to our hearts, brought to our hearts. It's almost as if you're reading our minds and our own concerns, because these very, very things, it happens, we lose a parent to some illness. Because I did so much seva for Swami, I've been serving in his organization, I've been doing this or whatever, I've studied in his university and so on. Why did it happen to me or to mine? And here you have answered us so beautifully. Thank you, sir. We're very grateful for that. Sir Murli. Yeah.
Thank you. Once again, thank you, Bhaskar. Yeah, with this, we conclude. We'll conclude with one moment, Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all